Oh, good morning. Good grief, it's that time again. It is episode 88 of Live Stream Insiders, and we're taking to the airwaves right now. Here we go, and here comes that clock, which is the countdown for our 30 minutes. We review the last 7 days of live streaming news in the next 30 minutes because we value minutes. Your Megs, we are rocking and rolling, and boy, we are hot and we are boiling. We are not used to this kind of heat in London, in the UK. Let me let you into a little bit of a secret. Underneath these clothes, I'm completely naked. It is that hot. It is that hot. But we've got some hot news for you coming your way over the next 29 minutes or so. We've got some updates to some classic apps. We've also got our case studies corner. And also we've got one or two boo-boos, little mistakes that some big players have been making this week, and plus we've got one of the best tech people in the world. One of the people who has put together such a website full of knowledge and how-to guides and step-by-step resources that if you are ever stuck on creating live streams, or if you're ever stuck on perhaps creating an image with some text over the top, and you're stuck about which app to use or which platform to use, and then when you've got in how to use it, then this is Krishna Day. Hi, Krishna.
Hi, Peter. Lots of news, as you said, to cover. And if you're not used to being here on Live Stream Insiders, we are really appreciative of you being here. I'm just looking down to be able to watch out who's commenting here. And I just need to put my plug back in there so you don't hear that replay. And also thank you to our replays for those of you who are watching on the replay. Here on Live Stream Insiders, Peter and myself, in terms of our goals and objectives, are really to bring you the best tools, technologies, case studies, ideas, and tips so actually you can put live communications into and integrate it into your communications or marketing. So it could be you're a non-profit, it might be that you're a small business, it could be you're looking at how to use live video for internal communications, it might even be you looking at how you do this in terms of crisis communications. And of course, I should also mention that because of the fact that Peter comes from a background in terms of journalism, working for a large broadcasting organization who you'll know very well, we always cover some Facebook news around how people are using it in the world of journalism. So we've got that coming up later on. But enough about us. We'd love to know about you. Comment below and let us know, have you started live streaming? Give us a yes. Give us a no in terms of you haven't yet started. We'd love to hear where you're up to. We'll also do our best to watch out for the comments and to respond. But with that, let's get on to the first story, Peter, for this week's episode.
Absolutely. And the first item in this week's news is actually quite small. It's barely an item at all. However, it could be quite significant. A bit of a rumour at the moment. We've only picked it up from one source, quite a credible source, but it is just a rumour at the moment. That is that Facebook has or will do in the future allow verified pages to promote Facebook Live. Oh, sorry, broadcast. And that is the crux, that you'll be able to promote it during the broadcast. So none of this waiting for the program to be finished and then cross-promoting back through Facebook or over another platform, or indeed getting someone else to do that while you are live, but actually to be able to do it while you are broadcasting yourself. So this is really interesting. As I say, we've only picked it up from one source at the moment, but promoting your live broadcast, that means, of course, you'll have the ability to increase the distribution, to increase the results of your efforts and drive more traffic, more people, more sets of eyes to your broadcast while it is live. That is of course, to have people viewing your broadcast once it's finished. And as we know, more people are likely to do that just because of time from when you finish your broadcast to the end of eternity than there was in that 12, 15, 27 minute or however long your broadcast actually was. That ends. But to drive more people to your broadcast while it is live, of course, means particularly in Facebook's case, it's going to be more by Facebook organically. So that, of course, is a bit of a crock of gold. So we're waiting for confirmation on that. If anyone else picks up on that, maybe maybe you've spotted that reference. So just to repeat that, Facebook letting verified pages promote Facebook Live during the broadcast, which is going to be really, really important. And it's going to be interesting to see how businesses, how groups, and how individuals manage to harness that to get more exposure for their product, their business, and going live.
And I should also just add there, Peter, to your comment about the fact about verified pages. This is something I anticipate is going to roll out to the rest of us, because they always start with making things available to verified pages, the ones with the blue tick. And maybe you're somebody like that. Maybe you're a celebrity. Maybe you work with celebrities. Maybe they're your clients. It might be you've got a verified page because of the relationship you've had there for some time with Facebook. And so you've actually got a significant number of people who followed, and you've been able to apply for that. Verification is not open to everybody, and it's certainly not open for most of us these days to be able to look to get a page verified. So I anticipate this is going to be something that is going to roll out further. Now, talking about other things that are happening, one of the questions that you might often get asked, and in fact we addressed it last week in the show, where it's like, should you go live or should you actually do pre-recorded content? And if you're interested in that, you can find that in our show archives, both here on Facebook under Livestream Insiders, but also you'll find links to it in our Twitter account and also on our own personal social media accounts too. One of the things that I know that you will probably be getting asked, for those of you who are new to live video, is if you're working in an organization or you're working with clients, they'll often say, well, give us a sense of scale. You know, how important is Facebook Live? And we, every week, will come up with examples to help you build that case study, to say, you know, we think we've got a project we'd like to experiment with. Well, one of the things that people also like is data. So that's what we're bringing you this week. And you may or may not have seen it, because people often will talk and will quote a statistic around the amount of live video, and also specifically the amount of internet video. So how much traffic is actually going to be generated through video in, let's say, 2020. And that's usually through a piece of research that's done by Cisco. Well, we've got the update for you, in case you hadn't come across this. And this has been out about a week or so. So this, again, will be in our show notes that we always publish, for a link for you to get all of the links there. And I've seen a number of things misrepresented. So I would always recommend, when you're looking at this stuff, go back to the source. So I went back to the source for the Cisco research. So you'll find images. I'm going to show you one image from the research on screen in a moment. You'll also find press releases and a lot of other data. I'm just going to pick out one specific thing in terms of the data. So let me just share the screen with you here. And this is important for us, for those of you who are building a case about video and also live video. So what does Cisco predict? Cisco predicts that 80% of all internet traffic by 2021 will actually be video. So this is a big note to all of us. If we are not using video in our organizations, in our businesses, we are going to miss out on internet traffic, because that is what consumers, that's what people like you and I prefer to do. And what Cisco said, and this is the global stats. So on Cisco's own website, you'll find it broken down by region. You'll be able to get to Western Europe. You'll be able to look at North America. You'll be able to look at Asia Pacific and so on. So it's all broken down by region. So this is global stats. And you'll find that for the US, where I know a number of you are from, who are watching this show and watch with us every week live and participate in our community here, and we here in Western Europe are not very far from that. The other statistic that's on that document there, or that screenshot there that you can see, is the fact that it says, what's the percentage of that traffic that's going to be live video? That's a 5-fold increase they're predicting. 5-fold increase to, as it says there, 13% of internet video traffic will be live. And what is that driven by? Well, all the things that we talk about here on Livestream Insiders. It's Facebook Live, it's Twitter Live, it's Periscope, it's all the other multitude of apps, including a new app we're about to tell you about later on in the show. So I hope that helps you. I would suggest you do things like bookmark that kind of research, and then perhaps the time isn't ready for you at the moment to put together your live video case study and your live video situation in terms of you want to go to people in your organization, or perhaps you're working with other people in terms of, let's say, as you are in an agency or in a consultancy. But big health warning, if you're not using video, as we all know, we're actually going to miss out on traffic. And it looks like we need to be thinking about live video as well to have a bit of a share of that pie. It's not just about the other cases you bring in. We hope that's helpful, but remember to watch out for that Cisco research published about a week or so ago.
Absolutely. And Krishna will be back from her side of the Irish Sea in a few seconds' time with some more information about what she was alluding to a few seconds ago. It's a new app which has come out, which is helping you to shop via live streaming. Really interesting, coming up with Krishna in a few moments' time. First of all, with me, Peter Stewart, live from London. Here's a bit of an update or another take on something we've been talking about quite a lot over the past 87, 88 shows that we've been doing. It's something which is really close to our hearts because of our links with family and our care for society, to be quite honest, as I'm sure you share as well. And that is about the violence which can be shown on a live stream. That's either violence to other people or violence to you perpetrated by others, or maybe violence committed on oneself by oneself. So suicide, for example, and those kinds of stories and eventualities. Now, BuzzFeed is a really interesting website. It's really pivoted over recent years, hasn't it? It did start years ago as a kind of top 10 list of all sorts of things. But in more recent years, it's become more serious and really is a driving force with some social stories, as we've been reporting about over the past week. I know Krishna was talking about how BuzzFeed were using live streaming over the course of the UK general election campaign. Well, now they've come up with some new analysis, which is headlined that violence on Facebook Live is worse than you thought. And as always, the links to all of these stories that we're talking about will be available in our show notes after the programme has finished. And he goes on to say that Facebook Live has a violence problem, one far more troubling than national headlines make clear. And they've done a little bit of research, and they've said that there are at least 45 instances of violence, and they're talking about things like shootings and rapes and murders and child abuse, tortures, suicide, attempted suicides, broadcast via live since its debut in December 2015. And that's, they say, is an average rate of around 2 instances a month. I tell you what, actually, Krishna, I don't know about you, but I was surprised that it isn't more than that. And they go on to various criminologists. It's quite similar to a story we reported on about a month, 6 weeks ago. And criminologists are particularly worried that when people publish those kinds of violent acts to Facebook Live, it might lead those perpetrators to view the platform as a means to get infamy, as a means to get famous and to bypass the traditional filters of mainstream media so they can have their crimes up for. And indeed, it also goes on to say, this report by BuzzFeed, that in addition, that the longer the live streams stay online, the more of a problem it becomes, because criminals see them as a way to publicize their crimes for all of the future. And BuzzFeed, kind of picking up on something that I said a few ago, says that for every murder which is live streamed and is picked up by mainstream media on Facebook Live, which is what they've concentrated on, they're saying there are several don't actually make the headlines. Well, of course, Mark Zuckerberg in recent months has said that they're going to be putting more than 3,000 more people, more staffers on Facebook Live to be monitoring the kind of content that is going out, to be able to stamp down, to stop, to pull the plug on those kinds of violent live streams that do go up. However, that really can't make a huge amount of difference, can it? It really is a drop in the ocean. Article saying even with 7,500 community operations staffers charged with reviewing content, it's unlikely that Facebook will ever be able to completely eliminate violent video from being broadcast on their platform. A really interesting article, if that's something that you're particularly interested in. Maybe you're a parent, or maybe you're speaking to some community groups, or maybe it's a kind of question that you get asked, maybe a business or a group or an individual, when they say, I'd love to be on Facebook Live, but I'm worried who I'm sharing a bed with. It's via BuzzFeed.com, and that link will be available in our show notes soon after our program, which will finish in about 15 minutes' time.
So I just want to give a thank you to everybody who's joining us here live. In particular, thanks, Bob, because you joined us and you've been with us for a long time now in terms of our shows, coming up to about 2 years. And Bob actually let us know that unfortunately our audio is not so good from London. We sometimes have that bit of a problem in terms of the amount of traffic that's in the region where Peter is streaming from, but really appreciate that, and hopefully it'll be okay on the replay, because we also have a high definition recording of this, which is one of the reasons we use Blue Jeans as the platform, because we get a recording of this separately that we can then republish onto other platforms. Also, thanks so much, Sabrina, for joining us again, always here. And a big particular mention to Bill, who's saying he's done 43 weekly episodes of his live stream show. Well done. Now, don't let Bill or our experience put you off in terms of us doing weekly shows. You know, there are lots of different ways that you could use live video, and it doesn't always have to be every single week, because I know that could be something that puts you off. Really, really well done, Bill, in terms of what you've been doing. And Sabrina, I know, very consistently, and Bob also consistently stream for their shows. But one of the things we want to bring you is the fact that it might be you've got specific goals. One of the questions you might have is, well, I don't want to have a long live stream. I don't want to go even for 30 minutes, which is what we typically go for. I certainly don't want to go for an hour. I also don't want to go every week. I want to just do it sporadically, but I want to make some money from this. And so that's what's interesting. Now, this app, I should say, is currently just being launched in Japan. I did go over on their website. You can actually be able to find a few live streams there. So I couldn't understand the language, even though I did live in that part of the world for a period of time. But unfortunately, I couldn't understand it, but I did take a couple of screenshots. So let's have a look in terms of what this app is called. Now, I should also say, you don't even need this app to be able to do what they're doing, because we've talked about this for a number of times, about how you can be really clever about how you integrate live video if your objective is shopping. And we've given you lots of case studies over the 2 years. I've also been writing about this for about 6 years, and we've given you examples such as US retailers, UK retailers, UK fashion houses, who've all monetized their live streams. But we've also talked about apps that allow you to do that. So perhaps gifting. This is an app called Live Shop. And as I mentioned, it's actually from Japan. Live Shop actually works specifically with influencers, and also specifically around affiliate links. So they're working with people. Typically at the moment, it looks like it's beauty and fashion. Of course, that's very popular as a topic for bloggers too. And so let me just show you this few screen shares that I picked up by watching one of their streams. So when you come in, it's interesting, it's in an app, and it's vertical video. So we've often talked about, should it be vertical or should it be landscape? So this happens to be vertical video. It's called Live Shop. What I thought was interesting as an integration there is you see that equal sharing between the top half of the screen and the bottom half of the screen. I wonder what other apps will be able to integrate that in the near future. On Facebook, we can actually bring somebody else in on our mobile device and be side by side. Or in fact, it doesn't have that same kind of equal share. It's usually a tiny little avatar of the person you have come in with you. But this is one person doing a stream from that app, able to show a product in part of it for equal measure in terms of with themselves. So there's other tools you might be able to think about using there, but I think that was a really interesting integration. Now, I also picked up the fact that they're working through actually sharing revenue, so the app earns money by affiliate income. And I just want to say, for those of you in the States particularly, and also for those of you in the UK and in Ireland, you need to make sure that you're compliant with the regulations. So, for example, in the US, if you are doing things like this, even if you're not using that particular app that actually has just been released because it's in Japan, you need to make sure you disclose. And too many times I'm seeing people who are actually sharing links to affiliate where they're getting income and they're not compliant. And there's been a number of situations in the UK specifically and the US where brands, businesses have got themselves into trouble. Influencers, celebrities, bloggers have got themselves into trouble because they haven't disclosed. So that's my only word of warning. You could do this. You could monetize your live streams in that particular way. There's lots of other things you could do to monetize your live streams. If you've got questions about that, of course, you can reach out to Peter and I, because I'm sure you don't want to trail back through all of our past episodes. But interesting, perhaps you know somebody in Japan, maybe you're going to travel there, you might want to have a look at that. And that actually people can comment, they can shop, they can take part in polls and lotteries, all run by the broadcaster, and lots of other things that are coming to that app going forward. So that's an app, as I mentioned before, in Japan, and it's called Live Shop.
And we love to bring you some case studies, because it's only by looking and see what other people can do and mixing and merging their messages and how they've coped with your own thoughts and your own aims that you can put a fantastic live stream for yourself or someone else's business. So we're going to be taking a look now at what one particular newspaper publisher has been doing recent years. We're going to cross over to New Orleans and the Times Picayune, and hopefully I've pronounced that correctly, which is New Orleans' oldest and largest daily newspaper. And it's made a strategic shift to become digital first. And they're actually incorporating a lot of Facebook Live in that. And in this article that we've discovered over the course of the week, he gave a breakdown of and the logistics when a top story comes in, and that involves a reporter going out to the scene and then doing a Facebook Live almost immediately before they get any other content, and then perhaps taking the quotes from the interviews that they do Facebook Live. I won't go through their step-by-step guide at the moment, because you'll be able to look at that on our case notes, or indeed look at Facebook's own page, because they've been promoting that on their media pages. But it's been really, really interesting. A couple of points that I would bring out from that is that they said that initially what they wanted to do was to give the viewers back to their own website. But now what they want to do is to have work creatively on Facebook itself. And they've been saying that Facebook Live lets them compete with local TV stations, and they get some growth and they get some response to that. Now, bear in mind that this is actually a case study which has been picked up by Facebook themselves. So obviously they're only going to be using case studies which help the app and their own publicity and their own aims. But that's really interesting. And as we've all often said, from day one, it's quite a cliche now that with Facebook Live, with Periscope, with Busker, with Me Live and all the rest of it, you've got a TV station in your pocket. And also what they've said is that from a reporter's point of view, what they've done is that not everyone is using Facebook Live. Some people are about going on camera. Some people are confident and okay about talking fluently. Other people, no, not so much. They prefer to deal with the interviews, maybe just with the audio, or maybe just with the still images, maybe for Instagram or something like that. So they're not making everyone do everything. They're playing to the strengths of their own individual reporters. Well, they post around 36 stories a day on Facebook, and they use a content checklist, which I was particularly interested in reading about, but unfortunately, that is not actually listed in this particular article. But what they're doing is, by the sound of it, making sure that various things are checked before they go to Facebook Live, before they publish on Facebook itself some text or some video or still image, to make sure everything is optimized for that particular platform. And it finishes off by saying we're now more thoughtful about how to use evergreen content People are very subjective in assessing what readers care about, but now we can see what people are actually reading and what they're sharing, which of course is what it's all about, isn't it?
So here's a little bit of a warning. We are going to go over the 30 minutes. Peter will probably slap me across the face. So if you need to leave us at 30 minutes, you know that you're able to actually catch us all of this in terms of on the replay. But we've got actually some really kind of top line news that we need to bring you. So firstly, I've got two pieces here from me to watch out for. Apps that we've looked at in the past. It's almost a year since we first looked at Smiletime, and we had their team come on and join us here for Livestream Insiders to talk about that app. We also talked to them about them a couple of weeks ago when they launched not only the desktop app, which has been out for some time, but they've also launched an iOS app. And that was actually really significant to be able to go live with multiple people from your mobile, from your iOS device. Well, I got a notification from them this week, an email just to let me know that they've set up something else. So this is interesting for those of you who are using Smiletime. And as I said, you can have up to 4 different people come into the Smiletime platform. At this point in time, it's free. But what have they launched? They've launched a way that you actually can, inverted commas, as they say, hang out with friends. And in fact, it's 6 people that this is actually working with. And the interesting thing for me was the fact that this is not a live solution. So you can be broadcasting live on Smiletime. You can also send that live stream over to Facebook. But the 1.0 room solution and the sophisticated graphics, as they describe it in their blog post. So they don't, this is actually something they've got in beta, so they like to practice and test and things. So it's interesting that you actually can go there, you can chat with people, and it doesn't go live. So if you're on Smiletime, you can check out their blog and have a look at that, because that might be a solution. Why was I interested in that? Well, I wonder if it's about Smiletime, and maybe they'll let us know, wanting to have a little bit more of our attention like everybody else does. And there's lots of apps that you could use that don't go live to Facebook or don't go live anywhere for meeting apps. But of course, I'm sure the fact that actually there's some people who love using Smiletime, maybe you want to use that as a way to pre-prepare for a show that you're doing on Smiletime. You can jump into your room and then go forward in terms of afterwards. It might be you want to do an after show there that you don't want recorded. But of course, remember, anybody can screen capture anything if they wish to do so. But I just thought, is it a way that actually it's just a great way for them to provide a solution so that people who are using Smiletime don't need to go to anywhere else. And talking about app updates, here's one for many of you who I know watch this show, who are actually using BeLive.tv. You might have been watching a few shows in this week that have given you some sneak peeks of features that are coming. I can say no more. All I'd say is if you are a BeLive user, make sure that you subscribe to their Facebook page if you haven't done so already to get a notification. I cannot tell you anything else, but there are some significant updates which I think you will be interested in if you're using BeLive as a platform. Remember, BeLive is a platform where you can have 3 people come in, and you can also do some other things that we've talked about over time. I've written lots of how-to articles on BeLive, but my big message to you is watch out. Something big is about to happen in terms of their announcements that if you're a BeLive user, you'll want to know. Shouldn't I've said too much? Peter, over to you.
Okay, well, I've still got a few streaming problems my end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable my camera. So I'm sure Krishna's won't mind staying on the screen or maybe putting up another graphic while I continue. And that should help, obviously, the audio that I actually run. Sorry about that. Sorry, I've gone now. But let me tell you about another case study about CNN, which has been also using Facebook Live to produce some other kind of TV-like output, because they have actually been using the Facebook Live API and streaming what they've been running through their studio operations center straight through. So it does look very, very professional. Now, you know my views on these. Sometimes things look too professional and it kind of gets away a little bit from the kind of social media that we actually like here in the main on live stream insiders. But they've been broadcasting a new political debate show on TV and also on Facebook Live, panel discussions and things like that. It was actually launched, first of all, just before the UK elections. And they have a 30-minute time slot. They've got a fixed panel to discuss various topics which are happening around the world. So not only UK elections, but also the French elections, the terrorist attacks that we've had in Europe, and political events in Washington as well. If you want to check it out, it airs Fridays at midday, British summertime on CNN International. And as I say, they use the CNN studio feed to put it through Facebook. And they say, you never really know what's going to bite on Facebook Live, but we've presented it in a way that allows a lot of audience interaction. It's a social TV program. And part of the way they've done this is because they've developed a tool that allows the comments from Facebook to appear on a screen so that presenters can see them as they're posted. Well, this article via our friends at journalism.co.uk doesn't actually go into any details about what this tool is that allows them to see the Facebook comments as the presenters actually present. But you know what? It could just be a giant TV screen, couldn't it, of the Facebook Live feed, so they can see those just out of the corner of their eye, or indeed, as we've said before, maybe just glancing down at a phone to see that. But anyway, that's interesting that CNN are also getting on board and what they are doing. And I'll be back in a couple of seconds time I'll tell you how a baseball team in the US is using the P word, Periscope. It's something we don't often talk about, isn't it? Periscope. They are using Periscope to bring fans unique views. So I'll be back in a couple of ticks to tell you a little bit more about that. But first of all, back to Krishna.
So I want to first say thank you. I am guessing that actually somebody in this community did the following. You've actually nominated me for an award. Now, I know that there's some other great people, other live streamers who've been nominated for this award too. And I also know, thank you to a few of you who've already told me that you've voted. So what are the awards and why should you be interested in it? Well, actually, they're run by an organization called PTZ Optics. They're a camera product. They do lots of live streams, particularly in terms of over on YouTube, educating people how to have better live streams and also improve the quality of that through their video, through the cameras, I should say. And the streaming awards have got a number of different categories. So interesting, there's a category there for churches. They've got categories there for best male host. They've got categories there for best live event that's been live streamed. And what is it that I've been nominated for? Well, I've been nominated, and thank you to whoever, or might be multiple of you, who've actually nominated me for best female host in that category. And I have to say that I know that some people love these kind of awards and others of you don't care for them at all. I just want to honour the fact that thank you for actually nominating me. It's open to public vote. There's some people there in all of the categories who've got huge followings who I'm sure also deserve to have a lot of votes given to them. And they're doing some really great, highly produced shows. I just want to say thank you for whoever's nominated me. If you want to know more about the people who've been nominated in my category, you can go over to krishna.me. You'll find the details there. There's a link to actually on the screenshot that I shared before about how you can actually go over and look to vote for people. It's at streamingawards.com/vote. But actually, when you go there, you might be interested to go there if for no other reason then there's actually a little sweepstake that's taking place, and you can enter from anywhere in the world to be part of this, to actually have the opportunity to win some live stream gear. So that might have been of interest to you in terms of not just voting for the people who are nominated there, but as I said, on my site, krishna.me, I've actually listed all the females who are nominated in my category and given you a link also to a press release there with all the other categories that have been nominated. So thank you so much. And if you do like what I do here, which is the production and also the hosting, the co-hosting here with Peter, then I really would appreciate the vote. Next thing I want to tell you about, though, is more women who live stream. So this is something I posted about on Live Stream Insiders. If you follow us in any shape or form, then you would actually have come across this a week or so ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And actually, there's some friends of mine who live stream, and I know that they're friends of some of the people who are watching this show. And in fact, some of them also watch this show. So this is Ladies, let me get this right, Ladies Go Live. It's an event that's taken place on live streaming, or taking place through live streaming, I should say, on the 25th of August. And so let me just share with you these faces. I'm sure you will know the people here who are here, or maybe some of them. So Jen Nelson, who's actually been a guest on one of my shows, Zev Zan, Lottie Hearn-Ross, and Tina K. Valant. And what they've done is they're putting together a series of live streams on Mondays, where they're going to be just on the run up to the show. They're going to be sharing some tips and helping you get to know them and also other people. But why am I telling you about it? Because they've got 4 categories. And the 4 categories, maybe you're already contributing. If you are, leave us a comment and let me know, because I'd love to know if you're contributing to this. But they've got 4 different categories, and they are looking, and I'm afraid you do have to be female to participate, but they've got some criteria on their website of Ladies Go Live, and they're looking for the benefits of live video for small businesses, optimizing live videos for inspirational and motivational content, live video possibilities for creatives, and also live videos in philanthropy. So they're the 4 categories, and they're encouraging people to get involved. If you've got a case study, if you'd like to be part of a panel, there's a way for you actually to submit your nomination. They're going to be selecting people to be on those panels. It's going to be running as a series of events on the 25th of August, as I mentioned. And delighted to have been approached by them. I'm actually going to be, I won't steal their thunder on this, but I'm actually involved in a way that you'll find out about very soon when they're ready to announce. So if you are a female live streamer and you've got something that you think fits into those categories, then I'd really encourage you to take a look at that and see if that's something that you might want to be involved in as well. So let's look at the next case study. And I know that, Peter, I think you're still off screen at the moment. So let me just share the screen. And Peter, you've got a case study for us about Periscope.
Absolutely, indeed. So how West Virginia baseball used Periscope to bring fans a unique view. Excuse me. Periscope is not something that we often talk about. It does have to be, but let's take a look and see what they've been doing, because they say that they've been using Periscope to give fans a live look at pre-game batting practice and live during road games that are not on the radio or live streamed. During batting practice, they've taken fans into the batting cage to give fans a behind-the-scenes look at the team. And also they've been using Periscope 360 camera on a field near third base during batting practice as well. You know what? It's stuff which, with greatest respect to them, is hardly unique, is hardly overly creative. But what is really, really interesting is to see another sports organisation, and we've spoken about many of these in the past, just simply getting a phone and using the phone to give people a behind-the-scenes look. Is that kind of stuff I really like, that kind of letting a little bit of light in on magic, rather than the CNN kind of produced studio feeds that sometimes we talk about, and indeed I did a few minutes ago. So doing little programs, 20, 30 minutes from the stands, previewing the upcoming series, talking about the teams, engaging with fans, is that kind of thing, giving added value to your core audience of your business, your organization, your charity, or your sports group. And I think that is really, really important, and I love that. Well, Krishna, I think we're nearly done, aren't we? Is that right? Boy, oh boy, we're going to need some cold drinks in London here because we've been at over 30 degrees, 32 degrees. And frankly, us lily-livered Brits, we can't take this kind of heat. So I'm going to go and jump into a bath full of ice next half hour and cool myself down after all those hot tips that we've
that was too much information, Peter. We don't need to know this. We don't need to know that you sat there with no clothes and now you're going into a cold bath. Too much information. So let's just round off in terms of our show this week. Thank you so much for joining us live. Thank you so much for joining us if you're in the replay. And just in terms of knowing about what we do, you can join us here every Sunday, 7 p.m., and that's 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time. And we're here on Livestream Insiders covering news, tools, technology, tips to help you integrate live communications. And I say live communications in a broader sense because, again, something else we talked about last week was Facebook Live Audio. So it's a good job we're called the Livestream Insiders rather than the Live Video Insiders. We didn't have that wisdom when we started this about 2 years ago. In fact, almost 2 years to the day that Peter and I first talked about what the format of our show would be. But things change all the time, and we do our best to try to keep up with it to make sure that you're informed. Thanks so much for joining us here. We hope that you'll enjoy the show. If you like it, please share it, and we hope that you'll come back next time, and also even consider joining us as a case study. If you've got something interesting to share, we love sharing other people's ideas about what they've been able to do, how live video has supported them in terms of their communication goals. Thanks again for watching. My name's Krishna Day. I'm joined here by Peter Stewart. We are the Livestream Insiders.